Last time, we watched the word it reach across a sentence and figure out that it meant the animal. That felt like the hard part, and honestly, it's the part everybody talks about. But here is something that bothered me when I first learned this. Knowing which word you are pointing at isn't the same as understanding anything. It gathered the right neighbor, sure, but then it just sits there holding a fact it hasn't done anything with. Looking at the right thing and thinking about it are two completely different jobs. So attention, the whole mechanism we spent last episode on, only does half the work. It lets words look at each other, and that's really all it does. It's a lookup. Here is the question I want to land by the end. What does the model wrap around attention to turn that lookup into an actual layer of reasoning? By the end, you'll watch one full block build itself on the page piece by piece, and you'll meet the one part of this machine that the entire rest of the course leans on. Let me start with the thing everything else sits on, because once you see it, the rest falls into place. Picture the sentence entering the model at the bottom of the page. Every word is now a list of numbers, and I want you to imagine those numbers flowing upward like a river. Each word rides its own lane, carrying everything known about it so far. This river has a name that sounds technical but means exactly what it looks like. It's called the residual stream, and it's just the running state of every word as it climbs up through the model. Now here is the rule that makes the whole thing work, and it's simpler than you'd expect. Nothing in the model ever throws the river away and starts over. Every step reads from the stream, does a little work, and then adds its result back onto it. The word keeps everything it already had, plus whatever the new step just figured out. So the stream only grows richer as it rises, and it never gets wiped and rewritten. So let's drop the first real step into the river, and it's one we already know. Partway up, the stream flows into attention, the exact mechanism from last time. Attention reaches into the river, lets every word look at every other word, and works out what each one should be paying attention to. For our sentence, this is the step where it pulls in the meaning of animal. But watch what it does with that answer. It doesn't swap the word it out for the word animal. It writes a small update back onto its lane, a note that says roughly, by the way, I am about the animal now. And that's the move I want you to hold on to. Attention is the step where words share information across the sentence. It reads the stream, mixes the words together, and writes the mix back down onto the same lanes. After it's done, every word is still itself, but now it also carries what it learned from its neighbors. Now the stream flows up into the second step, and this is the part nobody bothered to give a catchy name. So let me hand it one. If attention is the words talking to each other, this next step is each word going off to think on its own. It's called the feed-forward network, and unlike attention, it doesn't mix the words together at all. Each word enters its own private copy of this step alone and comes back out changed. You'll also see it written as the MLP, which is just an older name for the very same thing. Here's what it's actually for. Attention gathered the right neighbors, but somebody still has to do something with what got gathered. The word it now carries the fact that it's about a tired animal, and this is the step that acts on that. This is where the model leans on everything it soaked up during training, all the patterns and associations baked into its weights. You can think of it as the word asking itself, given what I've gathered, what does this actually imply? A tired animal probably won't cross a street, and the kind of connection that lets a model know that lives right here. And just like everything else, it obeys the reverse rule. The feed-forward step reads each word off the stream, thinks about it privately, and writes its conclusion back onto the same lane. So now we've got two moves stacked on the river, the words share, and then each word thinks. Attention mixes across the sentence, the feed-forward step digests inside each word, and both of them do nothing more than add their result back onto the stream. There is one small piece left, and it's easy to miss, but the block doesn't work without it. As the river flows, the numbers on it can drift. Some lanes running hot with huge values, others barely a trickle. If you let that go unchecked, the next step gets a lopsided, messy input and struggles to do its job. So right before each step reads from the stream, the numbers pass through a small gate. That gate recenters and rescales them, so everything arriving is in a calm, even range. This gate is called layer normalization, and its whole job is to keep the stream well behaved. It doesn't add any new meaning, it just tidies the numbers so attention and the feed forward step both get a clean read. Think of it as steering the river right before each machine dips into it. So let's step back and look at what we built on the river. A gate, then attention, then another gate, then the feed forward step, and every one of them writes its result back onto the stream. Lasso those pieces together and you've got one complete transformer block. That's the repeating unit, the single thing the whole model is made of. And here is the part that surprised me most. The model doesn't do anything cleverer than this to get powerful. It just stamps this exact same block over and over, stacked up the river, dozens of them in a real model. The output of one block becomes the input to the next, all of it riding the same stream. Down at the bottom, the blocks catch the obvious stuff, like which word it points to. Higher up, they're combining those into real meaning, who did what, and what it all implies. Same block every time, and yet the understanding on the river gets deeper with every floor it climbs. So let's answer the question we opened with. What turns attention from a lookup into a layer that reasons? On its own, attention only lets words look at each other, and that's exactly where we got stuck. A full block wraps two things around that lookup. A feed forward step where each word thinks about what it just gathered, and a shared stream that carries everything upward without ever losing it. The words look, then each word thinks, and all of it gets added back onto a river that never forgets. That's a transformer block, and stacked dozens deep, that's the whole model. Everything I drew today is the block close to how it was first sketched in the original design. The remarkable thing is that this basic shape has barely changed in years. But the machine did get faster, and it did learn to handle far longer stretches of text. Next time we take this exact block and watch how it grew from that first sketch into the model you actually use today. Same river, same block, just upgraded piece by piece.